please hit that subscribe button. Hey everybody, better suited to win the Stanley Cup this season. If you are new to the channel, Washington Capitals, the Boston Bruins.
Locked on and he scored! And we're live. Hey everybody, so it's time once again for another 2020 NHL Draft Profile, and today we are going to be talking about Swedish forward Lucas Raymond, who is certainly expected to go in the top 10. I've seen him ranked as high as 4th and 5th, and is low, dropping back to 7th or 8th in some rankings, but he's certainly expected to be a top 10 guy, and one of the best forwards in the coming into the NHL here in the 2020 draft. So before we begin, I just ask that you please hit that subscribe button if you're new, and give this video a thumbs up if you haven't already, as that really helps the channel and is very much appreciated. But let's switch over here to Lucas Raymond's profile, and as you can see, he is a winger. He can play either side, right or left wing. He is a right shot, but he's been listed as both, as someone who can play both sides. I think a lot of the time he plays left wing and plays the offside, and that obviously sets him up for, you know, having yourself open in the offensive zone and able to make more plays with the puck. But he can play either side, and that's a really good, versatile thing to have, and someone that, you know, I think that just adds to your value because, you know, wherever he needs to fit into the lineup, he can go on the left or the right side. Definitely a smaller player, 5'10", only 165 pounds. He certainly is on the smaller side, but in today's NHL, that is not nearly as big of a deal as it used to be. Certainly back in the clutch and grab pre-lockout era, you know, smaller players had a tough time. In the current speed/skill era of the NHL, it's a lot easier as a smaller player. It's still not easy. Smaller players are, of course, at somewhat of a disadvantage, but we've seen a lot more of those guys be able to still have incredibly successful careers and really have that size difference not affect them. And I think, you know, the ones that do that are great skaters. And as we talk more about Raymond, you're going to find out how great of a skater he is. But he played in the Swedish league last year in the SHL with men in the top pro league in Sweden. He played 33 games where he had 4 goals and 6 assists for 10 points, 4 penalty minutes, and a +6 rating. Now, you might look at that and go, 10 points the entire season. How is this guy a top 10 player? You got to realize the difference between playing junior hockey and then playing pro European hockey, especially in one of the top European leagues like in Sweden. Lucas Raymond was a 17-year-old kid playing pro hockey, and he was not the focal point of his team. This is a full pro team. This is, you know, you have veteran players and men and you know, former NHLers probably on this team. You know, he's not playing a big role on that team as a 17-year-old. He is not getting the ice time, the power play time that players in junior hockey are. When you're in junior hockey, you know, these kids that we see coming out as highly touted prospects out of, you know, the WHL or the OHL or the Quebec League, they are the superstars of their teams. They are the focal points of their teams. Lucas Raymond was not the superstar of his team playing for Frölunda in the SHL. He was a depth player. That's why you see the only 10 points. Where you really want to see Lucas Raymond shine is on the international scale with Team Sweden at the World Juniors and various other international tournaments, when he's playing with, you know, other junior players and people more his age, even though I believe he did play up a year in a few tournaments where he was playing with older kids, but it was much closer in age range. And you really get to see, you know, how great of a player he is when he's on an even playing field. And as he continues to grow older, he will get on that even playing field. And I have him ranked number 5 in my draft rankings. He really brings a lot to the table. And I think, you know, you just see him play with the puck especially, and you see the absolute massive potential that he has and the chance to become a legitimate first-line winger in the NHL, both as a scorer and as a distributor. And that's, you know, something that, you know, those guys who can do both are massively, massively important. So watching his highlights, watching his tape, and just seeing him play, some things that really stood out to me. He's an incredibly smooth skater. His skating, and again, this is how these smaller guys are really able to thrive in the modern NHL, is with their skating ability. And he is an incredibly smooth skater. You can see him dipping and diving in and out of guys. He handles traffic very well. He's great. He doesn't slow down with the puck on his stick. That's obviously a huge thing is when he's playing with the puck, it doesn't slow him down at all. He always has his head up. He's always ready to make a play, and he's always moving in an incredibly fast and efficient way. And his skating is just top notch. Very Tim Stützle-like with the skating. Slick, and I have slick in all caps. He is slick with the puck. That's really the only word I could think of to describe it. Just slick with the puck on his stick. Whether it's making a pass, whether it's deking, whether it's just going through traffic and keeping possession, whether it's ripping off a quick shot. He's just everything he does with the puck on his stick is incredibly slick. I think as far as just the not more the finesse players, not the pure power players. I think Lafreniere is very much a power player. He's someone that's kind of straight line, go ahead with the puck, and I think Quinton Byfield is a lot of the same way. And I mean, Byfield's size is massive. Then you have the more finesse players like Stützle. I talked a lot about just being a finesse playmaker with the puck on his stick. I think Raymond is a finesse player with the puck on his stick, and that's not a bad thing at all. I think he's so crafty with it, and he's not a guy who's just going to dump the puck in and just skate by you and go in and forechecker. He's not a guy that's going to take the puck down the wing and shoulder drive you to the net like a Lafreniere does that a lot. He's more of a guy who's going to go around you and deke around you and make you look silly when you're trying to play defense. And just slick is the number one word that I can think of when I watch him with the puck on his stick. He can score and pass. And again, having that dynamic versatility and that ability to do both. There's a lot of players that are great setup men, but they don't score a ton of goals. And then there are other players who are pure goal scorers, but they're not exactly top-notch setup men. And that's not a slight against them at all. I think it's just the kind of player you are. Well, Raymond can do both. He can score and he can pass the puck very well. Some of his best highlights were passes that I watched. Incredibly good passer in getting the puck through traffic and getting the puck tape to tape to his teammate who can then score the goal. And he played a lot with Alexander Holtz on the World Junior team. Holtz is a guy who's also probably going to go in the top 10. And Holtz is more of the pure goal scorer, while Raymond is kind of the guy that can do both, but also a very good setup man. And Raymond set up Alexander Holtz a lot in their time playing together. And he can also score as well, and that's something important. He's not a pure playmaker. He can also shoot the puck. He has a very quick shot, and obviously in today's league and in the shot blocking days of the NHL, it's important to get your shot off quickly, and he certainly does that. He has a very quick and accurate shot. Not the hardest shot in the world, but it really doesn't have to be. It's about picking, a good spot, getting it by the goalie, and just being quick and accurate with your release. And Lucas Raymond certainly has that. And lastly, he's a 3-zone player. And I think even more, I'm going to talk about comparables in a minute, but even more so than the guys that I'm comparing him to. I think he's a very defensively responsible player, especially for his age, being so young. I believe he just turned 18. Or is just turning 18. He's usually, the defensive side of the game comes later. He's a very, very responsible defensive player. He does everything he can to back check and be in good position defensively and play as well as he can in the defensive and neutral zones. And he's just overall a 3-zone player. I don't think he's necessarily going to be a Selke guy. I think, when you look at 2020 prospects, I think, Anton Lundell is probably your Selke type forward who's going to be a shutdown defensive forward. I don't necessarily am saying that Lucas Raymond is going to be a shutdown guy, but I think he's a very responsible defensive player and, somebody who will play well in his own end and will, actually get back and back check and try in his own end, similar to, I guess, like a Brad Marchand type in Boston, where, he's a very responsible defensive player as well as putting up a lot of points. For comparables, I think the most direct comparison that I can think of, just based on the size and the kind of player, is for Lucas Raymond is Mitch Marner. I see a lot of Mitch Marner in him. He might be a little bit better of a scorer than Marner is. Obviously, Marner racks up a ton of assists and is a little lighter on the goal scoring side. I think Raymond might be a little bit better of a scorer, but Marner obviously brings the incredible skating, the playmaking ability, the deking, all of that, and Raymond is the same way. Very similar in size as well. Marner's a small player. Raymond's definitely a smaller player at only 165 pounds. I see a lot of similarities there to Mitch Marner. And another one is Johnny Gaudreau, another playmaking winger, who on the smaller side, not a lot of weight, not a lot of size to him, and is able to really put a lot of big offensive numbers up. And I think Gaudreau is more of a guy who brings that scoring element. He can score a lot of goals as well as bring the assists. And Raymond can certainly do that. So I think Mitch Marner, Johnny Gaudreau. If you took the rat away from Brad Marchand and the physicality away from Brad Marchand, I think you could put him as at least offensively that kind of player. Certainly, Marchand obviously brings a whole other element of getting under the opponent's skin and just being an agitator and being a rat. And Lucas Raymond, he's not going to be that kind of player. But from a skills standpoint, I think you could, and also size, get another smaller player. I think you could see some Brad Marchand in there as well on the skill aspect, not so much the attitude and the agitation aspect. But I think real close comparisons certainly are Mitch Marner or Johnny Gaudreau, the kind of those playmaking wingers who can also score. So Lucas Raymond, definitely a very, very good player. Coming out of Sweden, already playing pro hockey, he's going to be ready to make an impact in the NHL sooner rather than later. And I really, really like what I've seen from him. So whoever drafts him, whether it's at probably number 5, 6, 7, somewhere in there, they're going to be getting a very, very good player. So with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description below. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.